Let me tell you how antibiotics were discovered. Alexander Fleming was growing bacteria in a flask in his laboratory. He came in one morning and it was all dead. And he put his detective hat on. Why is my bacteria dead? Nothing in the laboratory indicated it. There was an open window and it was morning and the sun was coming in and there was a heavy dust on the sun's rays. He investigated, he looked further up, and in the next story he saw an open window, and in the open window there was a plate of fruit, and in the plate of fruit there was a mouldy orange. Do you remember the story from school days? That mould gives off a dust, and in that dust is its spore, and in that dust is a highly toxic gas designed to kill off anything that would compete with the mould's food source. What would try and get the mould's orange? Other bacteria, yeast and fungus. So the mould says, this is my orange, no one else is going to get it. I'm giving off a dust to kill anyone that might try and get my orange. That dust fell on Alexander Fleming's bacteria and killed it. So he called the mould penicillium. And he called the mould waste penicillium. He called the mould waste penicillic acid. And that penicillic acid is the penicillin that we know today. And penicillin has saved the lives of millions, granted. But this is why I like Florence Nightingale's story, because she was getting incredible results before antibiotics came along. Just imagine if antibiotics had been known then. Come in with the antibiotics, but the doctors didn't wash their hands between operation, but the sewage in the corridors wasn't changed, but the dead horse and the dead dog aren't taken out of the water that the men are drinking. You see, if you don't find the cause, you will never have a cure. If you don't turn the tap off, you're still going to be mopping up in the other corner. I think God, in His great wisdom, allowed Florence Nightingale's experience to happen so that we human beings might have a good look at these microbes before the antibiotics came along. I'm not against antibiotics. They have saved lives, they are saving lives, they will save lives. But we've got a problem today. It's the overuse of the antibiotic. They're not used for life-saving resorts. Well, they are, but they're also used for a cough, a sore finger, a sore foot. We've got to look back to what our grandmothers did. So that when we get a cold, we actually go to bed. We take lemon water. We put our feet in hot water with a spoonful of mustard. You know all those old remedies? On Wednesday night, I'll show you some of the old remedies. I raised 8 children without antibiotics and they're all still alive. My son's 40 in February and he's never had an antibiotic. Do you know, he might get through his whole life never having them. That's what it should be. Most people should go through their life never having them. And what's the old saying? A stitch in time saves 9. Nip it in the bud. If someone gets a sore foot, put a poultice on it. Do some hot and colds and then it'll go away. But people don't know what to do, so the foot gets sorer and sorer, and then the line goes up the leg, and then the foot blows up, and oh, quick, we need it. Can you see that? And then the person's told, if you'd taken antibiotics earlier, it wouldn't have got to this. Actually, if you'd done hot and colds and grated potato, it wouldn't have got to that. Can you see that? Many are sick through education. That's why I believe the only hope of better things on planet Earth is the education of people in the right principles. That's from a little book called Ministry of Healing, and I think they have it in the store, yeah? Excellent book on healing in the human body. To date, they have tested 1.5 million different yeasts, molds and funguses, and 1,000 of those are known to cause disease in mankind. And every mould can have 2 or 3 different mould wastes. And different mould wastes affect different body parts. Now there's a book, I think it's in the library here, called China Study. And Dr. Colin Campbell was asked to go to the Philippines where children were dying of liver cancer between 8 and 10 years of age. And he found the common denominator was peanuts. And he found in every jar of peanut butter, he found aspergillus, that's the mold. The mold was aspergillus. But what was even more toxic than the mold, aspergillus, was the mold waste, and that's aflatoxin. Aflatoxin causes liver cancer. You see, the children in the Philippines were dying of liver cancer, and it was in their peanut butter. You see, peanuts are not a nut, they're a legume, so they grow mold very easily. My husband is my biggest critique, and I'm glad, because if I can pass Michael, I'll pass anyone. He says, Barbara, if it doesn't make sense to a man, you've lost the men. That's what he says. He says, 1.5 million is a little bit over the top. I don't believe you. I said, check me out. He came back and said between 1.5 million and 5 million. I said, oh, thank you, Michael. Huh? This is big. Have you read in the Bible what the Bible says to do about mold? In the Old King James version of the Bible, it's called leprosy in the house, leprosy in the clothes, leprosy on the skin. It's the same Hebrew word. New International Version, it's mildew in the house, mildew on the clothes, infectious skin disease on the skin, but it's actually the same word. So what should it be correctly interpreted as? Mildew on the skin. And leprosy is a fungus infection. In fact, the Bible says you got to destroy that house. It says you got to burn those clothes and you got to get the people away. Now what we know now is the person can come away and just go on a diet to kill candida in the body. And that's what I'm going to show you now, is how you can do that. You see, the area of the mold aspects of disease is becoming quite popular, but not in medicine, because in medicine their most popular drugs put it into you. As you can see, the antibiotics. By the way, the human body can cope with about 2 courses in a lifetime. Did you hear that? So the human body, it can handle a little bit, but you know, a lot of people are becoming immune to antibiotics because 80% of the antibiotics that are made go to animals. So when people are eating flesh meat, they're actually getting some, and that's why antibiotics aren't working. And Golden Staph has just adapted and adjusted to every antibiotic that knocks it. What does it do? It adapts and adjusts. These microbes are constantly adapting and adjusting to the environment. That's why we've got to get away from the kill mentality and find out, why are they there? And what's the good of giving a person antibiotics if they're going back to a mouldy house? Or if they're sleeping on mouldy pillows every night? It can come in through 4 ways. You can ingest mold. It can be on the food. It can be in antibiotics. Number 2, it can come in through your skin. Don't touch it. Don't touch it. If there's a mouldy orange in your fruit tray, cover yourself, get some tongs, carefully take it outside. Throw it into the garden and let the microbes break it down. So you can come in through your skin, you can ingest it, you can breathe it in. That's why, do you remember what I said? Cover your mouth when you pick it up, because when you move it, the dust moves and you can breathe that in.